colonization took hold, Maryland's economic fortunes generally paralleled those of its neighbor, Virginia. New York, Manhattan, Long Island, and east-west New Jersey established their own mystique, composed of Dutch trading schemes and widespread farming plots and plotters, holding general indifference to the fate of the border areas. A letter traced roughly the 1684 states,
"There will be people of several sorts of religions, but few very zealous. The people being mostly New England men, do mostly incline to their way. In every town there is a meeting house where they worship publicly every week. They have no public laws in the country for maintaining public teachers, but the towns that have them make way within themselves to maintain them. We know none that have a settled preacher that follows no other re-employment, save one town, Newark.
Maryland was named in honor of Henrietta Maria, the wife of Britain's King Charles I. In October 1633, Lord Baltimore sent two vessels, the Ark and the Dove, to Maryland. Leonard Calvert, the brother of Baltimore, was among the gentlemen and laborers on board. I quote, "The economic life of the colony developed much like that of Virginia, although unaccompanied by the great hardships of the James River settlements. Tobacco cultivation became the principal occupation." Unquote. Here, the Jesuits made major inroads converting Protestant colonists and relatively passive Indian communities. A kind of civil war, though, pitched Protestants, with mostly Virginia's backing, against Catholics. The Jesuits were eventually expelled. The Chesapeake Bay country was almost entirely devoted to agriculture and fostered an aristocratic sensibility. Great plantations began to absorb the small landholders, some extending 10 to 20,000 acres. Indentured servants and slaves served the planter, who inhabited the top of the social ladder. In Virginia and Maryland, the so-called Great House, or manor house with brick chimneys, presided over the properties. Tobacco was king, but cereals and even hogs sometimes found markets on the trading ships slipping up the Potomac, the James, and other water routes to the shallow interior. Later in the 1800s, Alexis de Tocqueville weighed in on the character of the early colonists in his Democracy in America book. I quote extensively,
"It was thus gold seekers who were sent to Virginia, people without recourse or without good conduct, whose restive and turbulent spirits troubled the infancy of the colony and rendered its progress uncertain. Afterwards, the industrialists and farmers arrived, a more moral and tranquil race, but one that was elevated in almost no points above the level of the lower classes of England. No noble thought, no immaterial scheme presided at the foundation of the new settlements. Hardly had the colony been created when they introduced slavery. Slavery dishonors work. It introduces idleness into society, and with it ignorance and haughtiness, poverty and luxury. It enervates the forces of the intellect and puts human activity to sleep. The influence of slavery combined with the English character explains the mores and social state of the South."
I quote further from Tocqueville's opinion. By comparison, the North outshone the Southern drawl.
Quote, "The people of New England, they now exert their influence beyond its limits. Over the whole American world, the civilization of New England has been like those fires lit on the hills that, after having spread heat around them, still tinge the farthest reaches of the horizon with their light. The founding of New England offered a new spectacle everywhere that was singular and original. The immigrants who came to settle on the shores of New England all belonged to the well-to-do classes of the mother country, neither poor nor rich. When inequality of inherited shares reigned in the South, each family was represented by a rich man who felt no more need than taste for work. Around him, the members of his family, whom law had excluded from common inheritance, lived in the same manner, like so many parasitic plants. One then saw in all the families of the South what one still sees in our day in noble families of certain countries of Europe, where the younger ones, without having the same wealth as the eldest, remain as idle as he. An effect like this was produced in America and in Europe by entirely analogous causes.
De Tocqueville had even more to say. I quote again.
Negro workers and slaves therefore found no competitors, and whatever opinion one could have about the utility of their efforts, it was indeed necessary to employ them, since they were the only ones.
Finally, according to author Stephen Ambrose, I quote, "Foreign travelers tended to agree with Jefferson's comparison of American women and women of the French disposition, at least to the extent that they found Virginia women dully and insipid, denied any role in politics or the management of the plantation, surrounded by a small circle of household slaves. The women of the Virginia plantation tended to become indolent, self-indulgent, frustrated, and unhappy." Unquote, from the book Undaunted Courage by Stephen E. Ambrose.